Paris. City of love, romance, and dreams. So they say. I used to say it too. But ever since that day, the day of the murder, I've always associated my beloved Paris with death. I was at home having a bath when my editor called.
Collard, get your ass over to the Palais Royal now. You got an interview. With Pierre Carchon. Yes, the Pierre Carchon. No photos, so leave your gear at home. He asked for you personally. Don't ask me why. Anyhow, this could be big, so if he makes a pass, don't forget. Just smile, say yes, and keep taking notes.
So charming and so very apt. Pierre Carchon was a media king, a national hero, and one of the most infamous adulterers in Europe. He and his wife Imelda were just one step down from royalty. Whoa, I hate mimes, but unless you humor them, they don't go away. Here I was, the palace of the Media King and the Ice Queen. I pressed the doorbell and set in motion a chain of events which would change my life forever.
Yes? What is it?
Madame, my name is Nico Collard. I'm here to see Monsieur Carchon.
Come up, we're on the first floor.
Madame Carchon, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Yes, I'm sure.
The Ice Queen was certainly living up to her reputation. Will you be staying for the interview?
Mademoiselle, I know little of my husband's business affairs, and I care even less. I certainly have no intention of watching him pore over yet another pretty little journalist.
Pretty? You're too kind, madame.
The talented and very beautiful Mademoiselle Collard. Such a pleasure to meet you at last.
Monsieur Carchon, I am honored.
Oh, I'm sure you are.
Call me Pierre, please. But I do not flatter you idly. I was a friend of your father. He was a great man.
My father, he never mentioned.
He and I were very close. And then his death. So tragic. I must... Imelda, your damned cat's in my study again. Another Ming vase, I suppose. Excuse me for one moment, my dear girl.
You journalists are getting younger each year.
Perhaps it's the rest of the world getting older, madame. That was no cat.
My God, what? Monsieur Carchon!
He's dead. I must call the police. You'd better stay here.
There was a man. It was the mime. Do you think he...
Well, I believe we can rule out suicide, don't you?
No wonder they called her the Ice Queen. She would have been top of my list of suspects if I hadn't seen the attacker myself. And if I hadn't come across a couple of murders just like this already. One of the most important men in Europe murdered. And here was I, Nico Coulard, alone at the scene of the crime. Should I wait for the cops? Or start my own investigation? It was a no-brainer. A bust of Pierre Carchon, humble servant of La France. The bookcase was filled with obscure first editions. Mimes and guns don't usually go together, but I had an idea that this was no ordinary mime. I'd come across this murderer before and written about him. The costume killer, at least that's what I'd called him. It was one of my hair clips. My favorite, in fact. It must have fallen when I was knocked down. His lifeless eyes stared blankly at nothing. I closed his eyes. It was the least I could do for the poor fellow. Some people hate searching corpses for clues. Me, I'm okay with it. Reminds me of an old boyfriend. Carchon had been shot. In his pocket, I found a ticket stamped Bateau de la Conciergerie. Taking the ticket meant I tampered with the evidence. There was no going back now. You had to hand it to the Ice Queen. She sure knew her fabrics. A small round piece of glass had been cut out of the pane. This was a professional job. This was the work of the mime. Unless the cat was in on it too. I didn't want to cut myself and leave blood on the glass. Call me old-fashioned, but I like to keep my DNA to myself. Pierre Carchon again. His eyes seemed to follow me around the room. The police could turn up at any minute. Somewhere there were clues to the murder, and I needed to find them. A medieval pageant. Original, no doubt. The tapestry must have cost a fortune. A beautiful cloth had been draped over the table. It was embroidered with an unusual cross. I reckoned that cloth might just turn out to be useful. There was a tiny hole in the tabletop. Part of the inlay had been chipped away. Even my fingernail wouldn't fit into such a small hole. Aha! Nico, you are just so damn good at this stuff. A key had been hidden in a secret compartment. A modern key. Instead of comforting Imelda, I was ransacking her flat. Why? Because there was something going on here, and I had to get answers before the cops arrived. And hey, she'd been rude to me, so she had it coming. Imelda had talent, but I certainly wasn't going to tell her that. It was a tube of acrylic paint, French ultramarine. Just the color I was after for my bathroom.
I'm sorry, I have to go. Someone is...
Young lady, what are you doing? Oh, this paint. It's my favorite color.
For God's sake, keep the damn stuff.
Imelda looked shocked, but still every bit as hostile. It was the way out. A beautiful, expensive, antique way out, but the way out nevertheless. Even the telephone was antique. Never trust anyone who owns a phone like that. Excuse me, madame.
Yes?
The last thing she needed to talk about was paint. Why would a mime want to kill your husband?
Pierre had plenty of enemies. Half the husbands in Paris for a start.
How did your husband know my father?
I have no idea.
You didn't know him? Thierry Collard?
Pierre knew a lot of people I didn't know, most of them women.
I am so sorry for your loss, madame.
No, you're not. You're a journalist. Journalists don't feel sorry.
Not true.
We shall see.
Why did your husband send for me? What did he want to discuss?
I have no idea. His business was his business.
He never told you anything?
No, and frankly, I preferred it that way. This is quite a scoop for you. I suppose you're already inventing the headlines.
Just because I am a journalist.
Don't patronize me. You're all cut from the same cloth. Do you have any moral sense at all?
Yes, that's why I do this job.
You do it to see your name in print.
As if my editor gets the byline, I just do the work.
Well, don't expect my sympathy.
The police will be here soon, madame. Is there anybody you would like me to contact? Family, friends?
No, I have no family. Pierre and I were... He was all I had, really. Not much, was it? The dutiful wife. That was my role. He never talked, never let me in.
I know one thing, madame.
What?
If you want to find out who killed your husband, then you let me do the job, not the police.
Why? How do I know I can trust you?
Your husband invited me here today because he needed me. I think he knew somebody wanted to kill him, and he knew I could help.
I doubt it was your database he was after.
You're wrong. I was onto his killers already, I am sure of it. Please, you owe it to him.
I don't know.
All I need is a few more minutes to look around before the police come.
You really do have a moral sense, don't you? I trust so few people. And perhaps Pierre really did think that you could help. Of course it wouldn't have stopped him seducing you too. Here, take this. It's the key to the drawing room next to the library at the end of the hall. It was Pierre's room. I rarely went in there. I couldn't. I was too scared of what I might find.
Thank you. I promise you won't regret this. A fine Baroque door. It would look great in my apartment. The door was locked. Now we were getting somewhere. It was a boat ticket stamped Bateau de la Conciergerie. When I was a little girl, Papa used to take me on the Bateau Mouche as a treat. The sofa was antique. For one horrible moment, I had an image of a naked Carchon wriggling around on it with a young journalist. Oh. This wasn't the time for me to lie on the sofa doing my Marie Antoinette impression. Though it is very popular at parties, especially with gay guys. Don't ask me why. The painting showed the Carchons together, in love. As the poet said, the past is a different country. Or did I read that in a fortune cookie? The Carchons, noblesse oblige. The painting was attached firmly to the wall. Aha! There was a small button hidden in the picture frame. There was the very faintest of clicks. Behind the picture was a safe. The safe looked pretty secure. There was a strange stone cylinder in the safe. In the safe was some kind of artifact. There were strange symbols on its surface. It looked like the printer's blocks I'd made at art school. If there was one thing I'd learned about symbols, they are always important. But these symbols scratched into stone were impossible to read. I needed to find a way of printing them. At least the stone was round. But what could I use for ink? And what could I print on? Sure, I was stealing, but I knew Imelda didn't know about the artifact, and Carchon was past carrying. As expected, the desk was yet another priceless antique. Yawn. The blotter and in tray had clearly been placed with mathematical precision. The in tray, like everything else in this place, was beautiful. One day I was going to have an in tray like that, even if I had to sell my apartment to pay for it. I didn't want to take the tray, but I knew that I could use it. It was a sheet of blotting paper in a leather holder. Its cracked surface looked ancient, reminded me of its owner. I didn't need a sheet of blotting paper. Not while it was blank. My heart skipped a beat. It was a carved elephant. But not just any carved elephant. It had been made by my father. I knew for certain because in my apartment I had its exact twin, carved into a box he had made. So Carchon had known my father. They really must have been friends. I decided to take the carved elephant. It clearly meant nothing to Imelda. I'd spread blue paint over the bottom of the tray. It was ruined. I was a very bad girl, but also quite a clever one. I rolled the artifact in the paint until it was completely coated. Genius! The roller and the paint worked just as I planned, but what did it say? A secret message had been printed on the blotting paper. It was some kind of coded message. It read, "Sub judice." I may not have learned a lot as a journalist, but that was a term I knew well. It means a legal case that is before the courts. Below it was a sequence of letters that made no sense. I suddenly realized there was a connection between the boat ticket and the coded message. The boat ticket was stamped Bateau de la Conciergerie. The conciergerie on the Ile de la Cité by the river housed the ancient law courts. So, sub judice could in this case mean literally under the law courts, below the conciergerie. I was pretty sure I'd found all I could here. And besides, all this opulence was making me pine for my regular life of poverty. This was a huge story. It was also one heck of a puzzle with a lot of pieces missing. But I was going to crack it. And if I could just remember the name of that fancy prize you get for being an ace journalist, I was definitely going to win it this time. It was a back door. Locked, not surprising really. Even the light switch looked impressive. I didn't need the lights on. It was light enough already. There was no one I needed to phone. Not until I had solved this case. Rolling out the painted cylinder had given me a print of a secret message. It read,
Did you find anything useful?
"This carving. Do you know anything about it?"
It was Pierre's. What does the statue have to do with...
Please, I need to know.
He was given it by a friend, something to do with Africa.
He never explained any more.
No, but I think it was important to him, always on display. Why?
It was carved by my father.
Oh, I see. I didn't know.
Imelda, I will do everything I can to find the killer.
Thank you, my dear.
And if the police ask,
Don't worry. You were never here.
sub judice was the key. I was going to have to find a way under the conciergerie. I decided to head straight for the quayside on the Ile de la Cité. If there was a way of getting under the conciergerie, it would have to be from there. Carchon wasn't the type for messing about on the river. He was up to something down here. Something that got him killed. This fence was a permanent fixture. The fence wouldn't move. The conciergerie, former royal palace, prison and law courts, and also home to the busiest guillotine in the French Revolution. I wasn't leaving yet. I had a hunch there was more to find. The cross looked familiar. I'd seen it before. It was embroidered on the lace cloth I'd picked up at Carchon's apartment. I knew I was on the right track. I tried pushing the fence, but it wouldn't move. A strange pair of locks stopped the latches from releasing the gate. for a room full of junk that was one very sophisticated lock system. This place was definitely fishy, in more ways than one. The skiff hadn't been touched for years. I've got an exercise bike just like that. Oops. I'd wrecked the skiff. Not that it was particularly seaworthy anyway. Moving the skiff would only damage it more. It was almost as if the fence was intended to double as a bridge. A rough hole was cut into the pillar. Mystery solved. Carchon's stone cylinder slotted into the hole with a satisfying click. The cross looked familiar. I'd seen it before. Oh my god! The slab came down with a hell of a force. The cross looked familiar. With nothing to hold it up, the cross dropped back down again. The panel was firmly closed. Ut lex vel ut next sumito. To the law or unto death submit. I guess these people didn't believe in liberté, égalité, or fraternité. Yes, I'll admit it. I was a swot at school. I also wore lipstick and the nuns never knew. It was an old shell case, probably from the 50s. I knew what I was talking about. I grew up watching war movies. An old shell case. I wondered what that was doing there. Lifting the cross closed the entrance door and also opened some kind of stone panel. Ingenious. The stone slab had flattened one end of the shell case. The stone cross was propped up. Now I was getting somewhere. I removed the shell case. I removed the stone cylinder. A round slot precisely carved into the stonework. The artifact slotted into the hole perfectly. Behind the old walls, I could hear some kind of mechanism groaning into life, but whatever had been triggered had now jammed. A hidden door. This was getting interesting. Shame the mechanism jammed. I was going to have to find a way to prise it open. I was going to need something a lot stronger than a hair clip to free the door. I removed the shell case. The cross didn't drop back down. Some kind of mechanism was holding it up. Another good use for a shell case. Another secret room. Somebody had something to hide. But was it what I was looking for? Wow! Through the darkness, I could see that this was a stateroom. But for what purpose? And how did it tie in with Carchon? It was an old circuit breaker, like something from a Frankenstein movie. Amazing! The thing still worked. The room lit up bright as day. It was an old... slot next to the safe door. All I had to do was find something to fit into it. It was like being back in kindergarten. All I needed now was a shape that would fit the slot. The flags had faded, but their message was still pretty clear. Fascist regalia, a message of hate. The flags had faded. Fascist. The desks were covered with a layer of dust. No one had worked here for years. I wasn't going to find anything in this old desk. It hadn't been used for years. It was a drawer. I wondered what was inside. It was pretty clear from the lack of dust that someone had been working very recently at this desk. Oh my God! The sheet was a printout with my personal information. Everything from my favorite food to my waist size. They were right about chocolate, but come on guys, I'm a size 10. There was even a picture of me, taken with a telephoto lens. Carchon wouldn't have taken these pictures himself. This was big and organized. I was part of it, and people were getting murdered. The dregs at the bottom of the mug hadn't dried out or gone moldy. It wasn't more than a day old. This was the article I'd written about the costume killer. My suspicions were right. Carchon had cut it out. 2 businessmen had been killed. One in Italy, one in Japan. In each case, the killer had worn a costume. A penguin and then a snowman. But that wasn't the only link between the 2 murders. Both the victims had been big media do-gooders, and I proved they were just the opposite. So, how did they fit in with Carchon? My articles about the costume killer. Inside the drawer, I found a note written in some kind of code. Damn, don't you just hate it when that happens? A photo, long lost, had fallen down the back of the drawer. It was very old, but there was no mistaking the guy in the foreground. Carchon. Behind him were soldiers, a burning village and a corpse. The photograph was cropped on the right-hand side. Somebody else in the picture obviously didn't want to be in it anymore. I wasn't surprised. This was Africa in the 60s. An uprising was being brutally suppressed. And here was Mr. Media himself, Carchon, doing the suppressing. The photograph was not just powerful evidence. It was also my ticket to one explosive story. There was nothing else in the drawer. The note had been encoded with a substitution cipher, with letters substituted for symbols. I had decrypted the note. It read, Pierre, full report to follow. But this is too urgent to wait. Arno and Yamada both dead. This is not a coincidence. Indeed, it seems that all of us who came together in July are in danger. Take great care. X. I wasn't the only one to make the connection between the costume killer murders. I'd been right all along. That was why he had asked to meet me. But what did I know that he didn't? I had enough for a story. An amazing story that was going to make my reputation and blow Canchon's to pieces. I needed to get home fast and start typing.
Bonsoir, Collard.
Nico, it's Ronnie.
Hey, Ronnie, you cracked open the champagne yet?
Are you crazy?
What's wrong? Wait a minute. You didn't print it, did you?
Course I didn't print.
That's the best piece I've written.
The last, as far as I'm concerned.
It's important.
It's suicidal. You can't destroy a national hero.
He deserved it.
His corpse isn't even cold.
Ronnie, 2 hours ago I told you what I'd found. You loved it. You begged me to write it up immediately.
2 hours is a long time in newspapers, Nico.
Someone's got to you, haven't they?
Listen up, Nicole, and listen good. Pierre Carchon had a lot of friends. Powerful friends. For your own sake.
Forget what happened.
You got it. End of conversation. Good night.
This should have been my big break, but I knew there was nowhere else to sell this story. If Ronnie wouldn't print it, nobody would.
Bonsoir, Collard.
Mademoiselle Collard, my name is Plantard. I need to talk to you about your story. Your Pierre Carchon story.
How did you know about that?
There are people out there, madame, who will be very upset by this story.
Oh, really? Well, it's their lucky day. It's been spiked.
Yes, I know. We must meet.
We must?
I have information relating to your costume killer stories. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., Café de la Chandelle Verte, Rue Alain Court. I shall be wearing a grey overcoat. You must talk to no one about this.
You can't tell me what to...
Tomorrow at 8. I'll be waiting.
People complain about newspaper articles all the time, but not usually before they're printed. I was beginning to feel scared. This guy, Plantard, could I trust him? Should I meet him or forget the whole business? I didn't have an answer.
I'd only been in Paris for a week, but already I'd fallen in love with the city. My latest discovery was a little cafe, La Chandelle Verte. I was pretty sure the waitress was taking a shine to me. That old Stobart charm, I guess. Little did I know my reverie was about to be so rudely interrupted. As I picked myself up, I was really angry. 1 minute, I'm on vacation. The next minute, some clown's blown me up. I knew right away what I was gonna do. I was gonna find that clown and bring him to justice. Because justice matters. Justice is up there with liberty, and equality, and, fraternity. After all, that's why I'd studied law, wasn't it? Well, that and the money, of course.
Wrapped around the lamppost was a newspaper. The leading article referred to the visit of a Nobel Prize winner from some unpronounceable Eastern European state.
The column was devoted exclusively to rumor, gossip, and sensationalism. The column was devoted exclusively... I noticed the writing at the foot of the page. It read, Salah Eddin, 1345. The big story was about the brutal murder of a French media magnate, shot down in cold blood. The guy oozed confidence, like a regular French statesman.
I examined the jagged glass remaining in the window. It was broken, all right. The table had been overturned by the explosion. I considered straightening the table, but I figured it best not to disturb the evidence.
It was the body of the old man. It was hard to believe I'd seen him alive only minutes before. The sight of the dead guy's staring eyes turned my knees to jelly. I tried not to meet his stare as I searched the dead man's pockets. No wallet, no papers, no credit cards. The guy's past was a blank page. Apart from a bit in the middle, the mirror had smashed into 1,000 pieces. Bad luck for someone. I'd hoped the fact that the mirror was already broken meant I'd escaped the bad luck. A mysteriously undamaged bottle of spirit stood on the bar. I needed a stiff drink. but I hated the taste of brandy. The waitress was clearly suffering from shock.
Oh, my head. Never again. How much vodka did I drink? Oh, no, don't tell me. What is your name, Sherry?
George Stobart, ma'am. You look like you could use a little help.
I could use a little drink. I feel sick, dizzy, and bruised. I don't even remember the party.
Just relax and take it easy. You've been knocked out.
You don't say. What happened?
There's been an explosion. You should try not to move.
Are you a doctor?
No, but I used to play hospitals when I was a kid. Can you remember anything at all?
No. I need a drink. Pour me a brandy.
You could be in shock. No alcohol.
What about the old man? Is he dead?
Yes, he is.
Oh, mon Dieu. I've never seen a real-life corpse before. Except for Grandmaman. That was different. She was family. Has he gone stiff?
I shouldn't think so. He's only been dead a few minutes. Did this newspaper belong to the old gentleman?
I don't know.
Someone has scribbled a note on it. It reads, Salah ed-Din, 1345. Does that mean anything to you?
No, monsieur, nothing.
Did you know the old man?
No, monsieur. I never saw him before.
How did the old man behave?
Well, agitated. He kept looking about him at the door, at his watch.
As if he was waiting for someone?
Yes, I suppose so. He was worried about something, that's for sure. If you ask me, he was having an affair. He had that look about him, like a guilty husband.
Do you remember what happened when the clown entered?
I remember that horrible tune he played all right. It was like a funeral dirge.
I'd never liked accordion music either. Did the clown speak to the old man?
No, he just laughed at him. Then he grabbed the old man's briefcase and ran out of the door.
Did you see what the old man had in his briefcase?
No, he didn't open it.
What did the old man do when the clown snatched his briefcase?
Nothing. He just sat there like he was frozen.
Did the old man try to stop the clown?
Oh, he didn't have a chance. The clown dropped his accordion and ran out of the door. That's it. That's all I can remember.
Stay here, mademoiselle. I'm going to look around for evidence.
Freeze! Hold it, right there.
Whoa, don't shoot. I'm innocent. I'm an American.
Can't make up your mind, huh?
I demand to see the American consul.
Drop your weapons and get down on the ground.
Put that thing away, Sergeant Moo. I apologize, monsieur, but I cannot permit you to leave.
Am I under arrest?
Ah, no, I would simply like to ask you some questions. En avant, to the café, marche. What a mess. This bombing is an outrage, is it not?
Stop that, monsieur.
Has it occurred to you that he may be dead, Moo?
Oui, monsieur. But I prefer to look on the bright side. Besides, I recall a case where the killer escaped by feigning death. However, in this case, the man is quite dead.
Examine the girl and take her statement, if you can. Et maintenant, to business. Your name, please?
George Stobart. I'm from California.
And what brings you to Paris, Monsieur Stobart?
Travel. I'm touring Europe.
You chose well. The city is most beautiful at this time of year, no?
Yeah, I guess so, apart from the bomb blasts.
Were you in the vicinity of the cafe at the time of the explosion?
Yeah, I was sitting out on the sidewalk.
I was lucky I wasn't killed. The inspector passed over my remark with no reaction.
Did you see the deceased enter the cafe?
Yes, I did.
Was he alone?
Yeah.
And did he say anything to you?
No. He was more interested in the waitress.
Did you see anyone else in the cafe?
Yeah, there was a guy dressed as a clown. He was carrying an accordion.
An accordion? Bon. The picture is forming in my mind, and it is not a pretty one. Is the girl all right, Moo?
She'll live. She confirms the American statement. A clown with an accordion, no doubt an elaborate and eccentric disguise.
Very well. Eh bien, I have heard enough.
What do you mean?
I am satisfied that you know nothing. You may leave. I hope this little incident does not spoil the rest of your vacation.
What about my personal safety? Can't you at least give me some advice?
What can I say? Stay alert and look out for suspicious characters.
And don't cross the road until the little man shows green.
Great advice.
I honestly believe you are in no danger, monsieur. Should you remember anything of importance, please contact me. My card.
Thanks.
That is all. You may go.
There's not much to go on, monsieur.
On the surface, no. But what lurks inside the subconscious? If the door can only be opened...
Are you serious, monsieur? I thought your interest in psychic detection was purely academic.
The girl presented a confident but sullen mask to the world, an expression more suited to the face of a delinquent youth. Excuse me, mademoiselle? Hi, my name's George Stobart.
Oh, an American by the sound of it.
Yep, that's right. On vacation in Paris. Some vacation, huh?
You were here when the bomb went off?
Sure was. Sat right out in front of the cafe.
Did you notice a middle-aged man, maybe 60, with a hat and overcoat?
I couldn't believe it. She hadn't even asked how I was feeling. Yeah, he went inside just before the bomb exploded. You weren't related to him, were you?
Oh, no, nothing like that. I'm Nicole Collard from La Liberté.
What is that, some kind of nightclub?
Oh, no, it's a newspaper.
You're a reporter?
I'm a freelance photojournalist.
Say, you could interview me about the bombing. An eyewitness account. Minutes after the outrage that shook the whole of Paris. You know, real-life drama, human interest, that kind of stuff.
I'll just stick to the facts, thank you. Did you see who planted the bomb?
I know it sounds crazy, but he was dressed like a clown.
A clown? It's him again.
Look, the inspector gave me his card.
Rosso!
You know him?
Oh yes, we've met. Oh, I didn't know his first name was Augustin. It suits him, I must say.
I found this newspaper outside the cafe.
That is not a newspaper, it's a gossip rag.
There's something written in it. Salah Eddin, 1345.
It sounds like a betting tip. The name of the horse and the time of the race. What do you think?
That's what I thought, but the name of the meeting isn't given.
Well, so what? I'm not the least bit interested in horse racing, are you?
No, but it could be a clue to the killer's next move.
Do you think his next victim will be the jockey? Or the horse?
She looked at me with a playful twinkle in her eye. Okay, it's a long shot. Have you met the clown before?
It's a long story.
I have plenty of time.
I don't.
Rosso didn't blink when I told him about the clown. It's as if he already knew.
That's typical of a cold fish like Rosso. I've seen cheeseburgers with more spunk.
Who was the guy you were supposed to meet?
His name was Plantard. I didn't know him, but he called me last night. He said he had a story which would interest me. He asked me to meet him at the cafe. I guess I'll never know what he wanted to tell me.
Well, not unless you have Rosso's gift for psychic interrogation. How did Plantard get your name?
Through the newspaper, La Liberté. I'd written an article linking two unsolved murders, one in Italy, the other in Japan. The cases were remarkably similar. A wealthy victim, no apparent motive, and a costume killer. Plantard said he could supply me with more information. Somehow the clown must have known about our appointment.
Why won't you tell me about the clown?
Why do you want to get involved?
Because he almost killed me. Isn't that reason enough?
I guess so. Listen, I'll give you my phone number. You help me with my story and I'll let you in on what I know. And let's get one thing straight right now. This is strictly business.
Okay, it's a deal.
I have to go develop these pictures. I'll be on time with you.
Fine. I'll see you soon. The sergeant was a scrawny man in his 50s who resembled a constipated chicken. Sergeant Moo?
Ah, Monsieur Stobart, n'est-ce pas?
That's correct. You remember me.
The retention of such data is part of my duty as a gendarme. That is how crime is fought, through attention to detail, not intuition.
Yes, sure. Look, Sergeant, the inspector gave me his card.
Yes, monsieur. He wants you to advise him if you have any information concerning this case.
Well, I'd be glad to talk with him, but I don't want him working his psycho weirdness on me.
Ah, no, monsieur. You are confusing the science of parapsychology with witchcraft.
Oh, yeah? What's the difference?
We don't do sacrifices.
I found this in the street, Sergeant.
That, monsieur, is a newspaper, no?
There's a note written on it. Salah Eddin, 1345.
Aha!
That stumped you, hasn't it?
I have never been stumped, as you put it, in my life, monsieur. It is the name assumed by the clown, no?
Salah Eddin the clown? I don't think so. What is Rosso doing with that girl?
He is giving her the once-over, as you Americans say. Once he gets his teeth into a case, nothing will shake him off.
I was one of the last people to see the victim alive, Sergeant.
Does that worry you?
Yes, it does. I feel I owe it to him to find his killer.
That is best left to the authorities, monsieur. Did he speak to you? Tell you anything?
No, he just grinned and nodded.
Don't let it trouble you, monsieur. Go home and try to forget.
I know the identity of the dead guy. His name was Plantard.
Is that so? You knew him, did you?
No, but
We'll know everything there is to know about him soon enough.
I'm trying to be helpful here.
The best way you can help us is to go home, monsieur.
See you later, Sergeant. It was a battered metal toolbox. Set into the huge gate was a smaller access door. The muscular workman wore a morose expression, like a silent warning to leave him to get on with his job. Hey, you!
I thought you'd been arrested.
No, it was a misunderstanding.
When he pulled that gun, I thought that was it. Those automatics pack quite a punch, you know?
He made a mistake. He thought I was a terrorist.
You? A terrorist? Ha!
He was only doing his duty, I guess. Did you see a clown come by this way?
A clown? Like in a circus?
Yeah, with makeup and a big red nose.
Huh! Those guys are funny, aren't they?
Not in my experience.
I love the circus, especially the horses.
You haven't answered my question. Have you seen a clown?
You think I've got time to watch everyone who passes by? Some of us have to work for a living.
Look, I know you're busy, but surely you'd have noticed a clown.
I told you already. I didn't see a thing.
He was wearing multicolored baggy trousers and makeup.
He'd be a poor sort of clown if he didn't.
Listen, I have to find that clown. He's a killer.
Say, who are you anyhow? A cop?
No, of course not. Do I look like a cop?
No, but you act like one, sticking your nose in where it's not wanted. How do you know this guy's a killer? Did you see him in action?
Didn't you hear the explosion? The cafe was blown up.
I wondered what that bang was. Any bodies?
Yeah, an old man was killed.
Merde. I didn't think it was that serious. What about the waitress?
Oh, she's fine.
Thank the saints.
Did you see an old guy with a briefcase?
Wait, silly old coot. Do you know what he said to me? Work fascinates me, he says. I could watch it all day. Quel bit. I could have knocked his block off.
Did you recognize the old man?
No. Should I have done? Was he a celebrity?
No, but I guess he is now.
Was he the one who died in the cafe?
Yeah.
That's too bad. Now I wish I hadn't called him what I did. If only I could turn back the clock. If only I'd been more tolerant.
Regret and remorse are strange emotions. They really bring out the hammiest actors in people. Take a look at this.
You told me you weren't a cop.
Don't shout about it. I'm working undercover.
Who are you looking for?
That's confidential. Would you like to read my newspaper?
I haven't got time to read that. Can't you see I'm busy?
You could read it on your lunch break.
10 minutes is all I get. And if my boss had his way, I wouldn't get that. He'd have me on a drip, so I didn't have to stop to eat.
Oh, take the newspaper and quit complaining.
Pah! Look at this! Damn bleeding heart liberals! Tcha! Save the dolphins, catch them and eat them, I say! All that fuss over a bunch of fish! Nah, that's more like it! Look at the size of those! Like champagne bottle corks, no? Ah, what's this? Saladin running in the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe.
It's a racehorse?
A horse? A legend! Bucephalus reborn, mon ami! Like a streak of lightning she is! Do me a favor, won't you? Keep an eye on my hole. I'm off to put some money on that nag.
What about your toolbox?
Stuff it. Help yourself.
I found a T-shaped tool in the box. I didn't know what it was, but it looked useful.
The clown had fled into this alley, but there was no sign of him now. I was intrigued by Nico and what she could tell me about the explosion.
The drain pipe looked as if it would bear my weight. I took a deep breath and prepared to climb the drain pipe. I guess the clown hadn't escaped over the rooftops. It was a battered old trash can. It smelled like someone had dumped a truckload of fish in a locker room on a hot summer afternoon. It was an iron cover concealing the entrance to a drain or sewer. It was a battered old trash can. It was a plastic crate. There was nothing of interest. I lifted the cover to reveal what smelt like the entrance to a sewer. It was a shiny red plastic ball sat incongruously on the slippery green slimed floor.
As I picked up the plastic ball, I realized it was intended to be worn. It was the clown's red nose. The nose was hollow. Printed on the inside were the words, La Risée du Monde, Paris. It was a bright red plastic nose, part of a clown's costume. It was a soggy, crumpled paper tissue. I scooped up the sodden tissue. It was cold and greasy, like breakfast leftovers. It was a small scrap of cloth caught on the rusting spike. I took hold of the scrap of material and unsnagged it from the spike. It was the soggy tissue I'd found in the sewers. It was the scrap of material I'd found in the sewer. Hi there.
Hold it right there, you sewer rat. I knew you'd come back, and now I've got you.
What are you talking about?
You're trespassing. Come out of there, immediately.
That's what I'm trying to do. Give me your hand.
Ha! You won't catch me with tricks like that. Keep your distance, monsieur.
Okay.
Now, what were you looking for?
I was looking for a clown.
Huh, ridiculous. Do you really expect me to believe that?
He planted a bomb in the cafe and blew it up.
What? The cafe? Blown up? Mon Dieu! That is awful. And you say the person responsible was dressed as a clown?
That's right. He blew up the cafe, escaped into the sewer, changed his clothes, and came up here.
Ah, mon Dieu! And then, the man I chased, do you think that man and the clown are one and the same?
Well, yes, it had crossed my mind.
Ah, that still does not explain what you are doing down the sewer. For all I know, you are in league with him.
Oh no, I'm just a tourist.
Haha, most tourists are content with the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, or the Pigalle. I didn't realize my waste pipes were such an attraction.
Was the guy you saw carrying a briefcase?
I didn't notice. Now are you going to leave, or do I have to call the police?
Does the name Plantar mean anything to you?
No, it doesn't. Who is he?
The man who was killed in the cafe. I'm gonna find the guy responsible. I'll find him. Even if it means following him down every sewer in every city in Europe.
Bravo! You need some sensible boots. You won't get far in those stupid sneakers.
Do you know the waitress at the cafe?
Oh, she isn't hurt, is she?
No, she's fine.
Oh, thank heavens. A poor girl like her isn't safe with the likes of you roaming the streets.
Can't you understand? I'm not a gangster. I'm an American tourist.
Ha! That's what you say.
Tell me about the man you apprehended.
What is there to tell? He was a typical criminal type. Just like you.
Do you recognize this material?
I am not telling you anything.
What does this tissue mean to you?
Nothing, monsieur. It's disgusting. What on earth possessed you to show it to me? Someone had emptied their nostrils into it.
Take a look at this false nose.
I've never seen it before in my life.
This is what I used to open the manhole cover.
Just as I thought. You were up to no good down those sewers, weren't you?
One slip and I would have been up to my neck.
Do you recognize this material?
I am not telling you anything.
Perhaps you'd like to take a look at my card?
What is this? Inspector Augustin Rousseau? What does that say? Hominoid Division?
A homicide. I think the ink's smudged.
Then you are not a tourist.
Okay, I'm not. I lied to you, and I'm sorry.
Don't apologize, monsieur. You know, I had a feeling there was something different about you. It is your posture, your poise. Oh, yes. There is no mistaking the bearing of a disciplined man. And I should know. I was in the army, you know. When I was your age, I was fighting for my life in the African desert. How can I help you, Inspector?
Was the guy you saw carrying a briefcase?
Why, yes, he was. Clutched in his arms like a baby.
That belonged to his victim.
Oh, what do you think was in it? Drugs? Stolen jewels?
I don't know, but the killer thought it was worth a man's life.
Nothing is worth that, monsieur.
Does the name Plantar mean anything to you?
No, it doesn't.
Do you know the waitress at the cafe?
You can't suspect her, surely.
Just answer the question, please.
Yes, I know her. Quite well, you could say. She came to work at the cafe 7 months ago. I look forward all week to the relief she gives me when she visits.
Really? So you'd miss her if she wasn't there?
Oh, mais oui! Who else would I find to cut my toenails?
Tell me about the man you apprehended.
He was a mean one, monsieur. He grabbed me in an armlock, his face suddenly next to mine. His grip was like iron, but he did not know what he was up against. Oh no, he made a big mistake when he took on one of the desert hyenas.
Yes, I get the picture. Does this piece of material mean anything to you?
That is the same cloth as the jacket I found. I'd recognize that pattern anywhere.
Now, about the jacket you found. Do you have it here?
No, monsieur. One of the sleeves was badly torn, so I sent it for repair. A pity, because otherwise it was a fine piece of quality tailoring. It had the tailor's name inside on the label.
Where did you send the jacket?
I gave it to an itinerant Romani seamstress.
Just my luck. Was there anything in the jacket pockets?
Not a sou. You know what I think?
Do tell me.
He changed out of the clown suit and cunningly disguised himself as an ordinary person.
Looks like I'm up against a mastermind. What was the name on the label?
It was a foreign name. Todrick, I think.
Did you get the address?
There wasn't one, monsieur. Only a telephone number.
Well, I don't expect you to remember a phone number you've only seen once.
74 98 08 59.
You're kidding. That's his phone number?
Yes, that's it. A little trick with numbers that I learned in the desert. I was taught the technique by a Tuareg shaman.
That's incredible.
It comes in handy at the supermarket checkout. Do I get a reward?
Honesty, monsieur, is its own reward.
Then I'm glad I do not rely on honesty to pay the bills.
I have to be going. Thanks to your help, the citizens of Paris can sleep a little easier tonight.
Vraiment? I was only doing my duty, monsieur. Good luck, Inspector. I hope you catch that killer soon.
So the clown had escaped into the sewer, come up into the courtyard, and then slipped back into the street here. Now, it wasn't much, but it was more than the cops had done.
Hello, Nico Collard.
Hello? It's George.
Ah, oui.
You said to call if I could help.
Have you any news for me?
You bet. I met a witness who spoke to the clown. And I know where the killer gets his suits.
No kidding. Hey, I'm impressed.
You are? Well, it wasn't easy.
Look, why don't you come here to my apartment later this afternoon?
Fine. Where do you live?
361 Rue Jarry.
Okay, I'll come over.
I was used to working alone, but I had to admit it felt good with George on the case too. But there were some things I was going to have to do alone, and fast. I needed the answers to some questions. Who was the costume killer? And why did he murder Carchon? Why did Carchon ask for me to interview him? How did he know my father? And why was my editor so scared? There was some kind of secret war going on out there, but who was on which side? One thing I did know. I wasn't going to get the answers sitting at my desk. I was beginning to hate the phone. All it brought me was bad news. There wasn't anyone that I needed to call. No messages for me.
You have no messages.
My first Teddy. Never had a boyfriend as loyal as him. The box was one of the few things my father left me. The elephant on the lid was a perfect match to Carchon's. The box was carved by my father. It never had a key. It was my neighbor, this so-called psychic.
Mademoiselle Collard.
Oh, hello there. Don't tell me. I'm going to meet a tall, dark man.
No, I don't think so. Why would you say that?
Oh, just a wild guess.
Anyway, your cousin's female and very pretty.
What?
Your cousin from Marseille. How could you forget her so soon? She was only in your apartment yesterday.
Ah, really?
Such a charming young girl.
Isn't she? And in my apartment, you say?
She let herself in, of course. She's got a key.
Suddenly, everything made sense. My apartment had been bugged. That was how Plantard knew all about my article. How did I know? Because the only cousin I have is a sweet little guy called Jean-Marc, who runs a patisserie in Le Touquet. These people were determined, which meant they were also very dangerous. I suppose she'd forgotten which apartment was mine.
Oh, Miss Collard, you're a mind reader. That's just what she said.
Oh, I bet it was. Well, I'd better be going. See what my sweet cousin's been getting up to.
Au revoir, mademoiselle.
So, where had my pretty new cousin hidden her little bug, eh? I was going to have to search everywhere. The box was carved by my... But that small metal disc underneath it in the chest was a recent addition. The box, the elephant on the... But that small metal... The box was on... A small, sinister-looking metal disc had been tucked under my father's box. Oh, chère cousine, you left me a little present. You shouldn't have. You don't scare me. Espèce de... There was a small door set into the entrance gates, but nothing to say who lived there. The door was locked. It was the kind of ancient phone beloved of French workmen. I was surprised they still use them. I didn't need to call anyone. The workman looked about as eager and helpful as your average road digger. Hello, could I ask you some questions?
That depends. Are you a cop?
No, I'm a journalist.
Bit late, aren't you? They already took away the body.
I'm doing a follow-up on this story. Have you ever seen anything like this?
What do you think I am? A plumber?
Would you recognize this?
That is the key to a safe. A Warren special, if I'm not mistaken.
Take a look at this.
I don't like laissez hankies. They scratch my nose.
I can see how that must be a problem for you. You see this ticket?
Are you trying to bribe me?
No.
I don't blame you, of course. Good-looking fella like me.
He wouldn't be interested. Look at this secret message.
Very nice. But it's not secret now, is it? It's just a message.
Do you like this carving?
It's the kind of thing you pick up for a couple of euros at Les Puces de Saint-Ouen.
He wouldn't be interested in a substitution cipher. Do you know this man?
He looks like a nasty piece of work. I had an uncle who was with the fascists, but we never talk about him.
What happened to him?
How should I know? We never talk about him.
Have the police finished with the crime scene?
What does it look like? I got orders to board up the windows, and that's what I'm doing.
So the body's been removed?
I certainly hope so, or it'll stink to high heaven when they take down these boards.
Shouldn't you check?
Are you kidding? They don't pay me enough to put up boards, let alone check for dead bodies.
Tell me, are you related to the workman I saw digging the hole?
Don't talk to me about flobage. Pah!
Okay.
He just won a fortune on the horses and he won't give me a cent.
Well, it's his money.
When he was broke, he was happy to touch me for a loan. Brothers should look after each other, he used to say. He's changed his tune, now he's brassed up.
You're doing a fine job.
Damn right I am. You should be writing about me, not that idiot that got blown up.
The heroes who pick up the pieces when disaster strikes.
Exactly.
Well, give me your best smile and maybe I'll put your picture in the article.
Oh, right. Just give me a minute to do my hair.
The police had removed the body, but nothing else looked disturbed.
It was a brandy bottle. Some journalists drink on the job, not me. A panel had been blown away, revealing a gap. From this angle, I could see that something had been lodged in the gap behind the pipes. Behind the table were some damaged pipes. Now I'd seen it in the mirror, I could make out something behind the pipes. Voila! The police and forensic teams had missed a vital piece of evidence. Some kind of pouch. On the pouch was the cross symbol of Carchon's organization. I was on the right track. On the pouch was the cross symbol of Carchon's organization. Inside the pouch were two items, a strange metallic artifact and a letter in some kind of code. Another coded message using the same cipher system. So, Plantard was involved with Carchon. Plantard. Pierre killed. Murderer must have followed trail from Arnaud and Yamada. He will come for us now. We must be vigilant. Thierry's girl broke into Pierre's safe. She worries me. Imelda. So much for Imelda's innocence. Plantard was working for her, and for Carchon. But why did Plantard want to meet? Was it a trap? Or maybe he was in too deep and needed me to tell the story, whatever the story was. One thing was clear. It was a story worth killing for. The artifact had a sword laid across scales, the scales of justice. I wondered if this connected to the room at the quayside.
Hey, what about my photos?
Oh, of course. How could I forget?
Well, I'm waiting. Get your camera out.
Camera. Oh, I forgot. It broke.
Alors, they should never send a woman to do a man's job.
Well, this woman had fooled him easily enough, and found the evidence the police had missed. From the stench, the hole obviously led down to the sewers. The strange metal artifact I found in Plantard's pouch had pointed back to the quayside. Plantard's key fitted the lock, so he must have used this place too. A photograph had been torn up. If I could just arrange the pieces. Papa! Oh, God. After what I'd gone through, I thought I could face anything. But not this. My father, the one person in the whole world who I truly admired, standing with Crachon while those murderers carried on with their evil work. My father, grinning at the camera. I couldn't believe it. I realized that I desperately needed to get to the bottom of this story, and that I really needed George.